While the world waits to see what Donald Trump would do in the ongoing Iran Israel war, a lot of activities are taking place in the UK. Not that the UK is usually that important in the wider scheme of things on global geopolitics, given its historic image as a US poodle. What's happening now in the corridor of power in London becomes significant nonetheless. The outcome of these intense deliberations would hugely influence Donald Trump's decision on whether or not to join Israel's illegal war. That's because UK's Attorney General Richard Hermer is busy taking a call on whether Israel's decision to attack Iran is lawful. The development came on the day Iran hit a building in Tel Aviv right next to the Microsoft headquarters. Meanwhile, the British, French, and German foreign ministers are holding talks with their Iranian counterpart in Geneva today as part of efforts to end the Israel Iran conflict. Now, let's look at these points in greater detail. Last night, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt read out a message from Donald Trump stating that he had agreed to wait for another 2 weeks before he decides on US participation in the Iran Israel war.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Many felt that this could be another attempt by Trump to deceive Iranians with a false sense of safety, as was the case last week when he spoke about his optimism for talks, but was secretly giving green light to Netanyahu's plans to launch an illegal attack on Iran. Let's see if the Iranians are wiser this time around. But if we were to believe the White House press secretary, Trump has delayed making a decision as he thinks there is a substantial chance of talks. This, according to many EU diplomats, has opened a window to diplomacy for European nations. If indeed today's meeting in Geneva goes ahead as planned, this would be the first time Tehran would be engaging with Western countries since Israel launched an illegal war on Iran. This is also the first time Europeans would be getting involved in the conflict in any significant manner. EU countries are likely to urge Iran to return to the negotiating table, but Tehran has made it abundantly clear that it can't when it's under attack from a rogue settler colony ruled by genocidal maniacs. Close to the EU, the UK government has begun assessing if the Israeli decision to attack a sovereign country was in accordance with international law. I personally don't have much hope from Richard Hermer, who many believe has been horrible with his indifference to Israeli atrocities in Gaza. I was hopeful. You can find out from my earlier videos. I was very hopeful when he was appointed as the Attorney General. Despite being a Jew, he had taken a principled stand against Israel on the Gaza conflict in the past. That was my reason for optimism. But he has failed to live up to his past reputation ever since he took on his role as the Attorney General. He rejected the call for Israeli war criminal Gideon Saar's arrest when he visited the UK earlier this year. But if indeed he decides that Israel was in violation of international law to attack Iran, it would have massive consequences on the US decision to send the military to Iran to help Netanyahu. Watch this clip to understand that.
As the conflict progresses, it is standard for the UK government to seek the legal counsel of its Attorney General Richard Hermer. In this case, he would offer his position on whether Israel's preemptive strike on Iran was lawful. Now, there is always nuance with these things. International law can have a spectrum of interpretations. But a source familiar with the discussions inside the government has told us that the Attorney General has raised questions over whether Israel's actions in Iran are lawful. It's not immediately clear what aspect of Israel's justification for military action the Attorney General has concerns over. He would likely be considering the key legal test of the imminence of the Iranian threat against Israel, whether it's reasonable to conclude that an attack from Iran really was imminent. Remember, Israel has argued that Iran was on the brink of a nuclear weapon and that an attack from Iran was imminent. That's why it attacked first. Now, the Attorney General's office has told Sky News, by long-standing convention reflected in the ministerial code, whether the law officers have been asked to provide legal advice, and the content of any advice is not routinely disclosed. It goes on to say the convention provides the fullest guarantee that government business will be conducted at all times in light of thorough and candid legal advice. Now, if the Attorney General was to deem Israel's actions in Iran to be unlawful, then the UK would be restricted in its ability to help defend Israel or support the United States in any planned attacks on Iran. America's B-2 bombers with their bunker busters could operate from the British base in Diego Garcia, and the US could also request the use of the UK base in Cyprus for its refueling planes. And so it gets complicated militarily and diplomatically for the special relationship if the UK is unable to support America.
This came even as Fox News reported, quoting The Guardian, that Trump was actually considering nuking Iran.
Hey, Martha, there have been a lot of headlines this afternoon, including one from The Guardian that claimed that the U.S. military has doubts about whether the bunker buster bombs could get the job done, and further claiming that only a tactical nuke maybe could finish it. And it further stated that the president is not considering a tactical nuke, that it was not one of the options that was presented to him. I was just told by a top official here that none of that report is true, that none of the options are off the table.
Meanwhile, Israel carried out more attacks on Iran, hitting civilian targets. Close to 700 people have now been killed in Israeli strikes in Iran. Iran, too, retaliated by attacking a building next to the Microsoft headquarters in Tel Aviv. You can watch the video on our Telegram channel. Details are on the screen. While we don't know who the target was, Microsoft has been a major provider of cloud services and artificial intelligence for the Israeli army. The company, too, has had to face huge unrest from its own staff members over its complicity in the Gaza Holocaust. It has brutally crushed the staff unrest by moving swiftly to sack those employees. Remember this?
AI for genocide, Mustafa. Stop using AI for genocide in our region.
Shame on you all. You're all hypocrites. I'm a Microsoft worker, and I do not consent to my...
Thank you.
50,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been murdered with Microsoft technology.
Both women were quickly shown the door by Microsoft for simply opposing a genocide. Yesterday, one of the Iranian missiles hit an Israeli military command center near the Soroka hospital. Israelis are now crying foul by calling it a war crime. These monsters have the audacity to play victim even after bombing and destroying every single hospital in Gaza and repeating the same in Tehran. Let's not forget, Israelis killed a pregnant woman in Tehran.
But it's total shock that someone would target a medical center. People in the hospital, the people we have left in the hospital are elderly people, cancer patients, people who need urgent medical care. They cannot go home. And these people were targeted directly to be killed by a missile attack. There is no other explanation for this, and it's shocking that such a thing would take place.
The question arises as to why the US, the UK, and the wider West have still not abandoned their client state despite it being responsible for everything which is wrong in the Middle East. The answer lies in the powerful Israeli lobby and how it has compromised Western politicians. In the US, the lobby is called AIPAC. I will leave you with this absolutely thrilling ambush of pro-Israeli Trump supporter Ted Cruz by Tucker Carlson.
So I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel...
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, there are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC...
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's objectively
when was
wrong.
the last time AIPAC took a position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu?
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC,
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets.
No.
I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not. It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay. So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if...
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including Israel.
But AIPAC are Americans. They're not Israelis.
Hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah, and what you're saying is false.
Why aren't they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.